everyone. Welcome back to the Take 4 podcast. Today we're going to be talking about attachment styles. It's actually a really important topic, and the reason that we bring it up today is because it is something that will affect every relationship in your life, whether it is your relationship in a romantic setting, a relationship with your friends and family, but even more importantly, a relationship with yourself. And so a lot of the topic of conversation here is going to be based on a test that all of us have taken. The premise of that test was to analyze what our attachment style was. And a part of that attachment style test, the results were either anxious, avoidant, or secure. I came out as anxious. No guesses there. Mark, avoidant. And actually, weirdly enough, the couple of our podcast, Ramon and Varia, both came out as secure. So we're going to take you through a process here where we're going to share our results. Bit triggering. I know it's, I feel like this conversation is going to leave me bare a little bit. I think it might for you as well, Mark. But it's really important to understand how we have come to this place. I think a lot of our attachment styles are to do with our very early childhood years, our developmental years, which was what we were discussing earlier, which is from literally baby to 7 years old.
Yeah.
And that essentially has then shaped the rest of our lives and how we relate to ourselves and to the world. And actually, interestingly enough, some of us have read this book, Attached, and this book talks and goes into greater detail on these 3 attachment styles. But actually the premise of this book is that in order for an anxious person or an avoidant attached person, in order for you to actually heal and in order for you to be in a secure relationship, you've got to find someone who is a securely attached person. I don't necessarily agree with that because I actually don't think that you can have someone save you and rescue you. I think you need to become that secure person for yourself. And I know what you're going to say, and I'm going to let you say it in a sec. But I think we need to become securely attached within ourselves. And we'll go through some of that later in the podcast. That's the only way that you will ever truly attract someone who is secure.
I agree.
So I know you have something to say about that, but should we go through our test results first? Do you want to read out what we are?
Yeah, I think let's introduce the different attachment styles.
Yeah.
So we're going to read out the definitions of each attachment style and go from there. So we can then use our personal experiences, past relationships, current relationships, and how our attachment styles show up in those relationships and see whether we had any interesting takeaways having now taken the test. Was everybody aware that this is their attachment styles? Anything they're going to take into the future and potential things to work on.
Alrighty then.
Avoidant attachment style. It is very important for you to maintain your independence and self-sufficiency, and you often prefer autonomy to intimate relationships. Even though you do want to be in a relationship, you feel uncomfortable with too much closeness and tend to keep your partner at arm's length. You don't spend much time worrying about your romantic relationships or about being rejected. You tend not to open up to your partners, and they often complain that you are emotionally distant. In relationships, you are often on high alert for any signs of control or impingement on your territory by your partner.
I agree with like 80% of that.
What was your test result, by the way?
So there was like, obviously, because you can be partly secure, partly avoidant, and partly anxious, right?
Yeah.
So I got 0% on the anxious. I got 75% on the avoidant, but I got 65% on the secure. So like, it's a weird one. It's like, I think...
So the relevant result
is
was avoidant,
yeah.
But there is like underlying security at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think when we start discussing your upbringing, that will be that can be used to explain this particular result.
No, but I 100% agree with like 80% of what you just read. Like super, super independent, super, super self-sufficient. That has, if there was the, if you were in my house, the number one thing that was always being said was just how you have to be able to just not be a burden on anyone.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, because I've in the past also shown up in relationships as avoidant, and burden is a really common term that I would use to describe myself in someone's life. Yeah. So I've
not in my life. Just make that clear.
But it's funny because an anxious attachment style actually feels like, not that they're a burden, but they don't deserve the love. So it's funny because you, in one way, it's not that you don't think you deserve it, but it's that you don't want to be a burden. So you don't even kind of get in there to expect it.
Yeah.
On that note, let me just read out the terminology or the definition of an anxious attachment style. You love to be very close to your romantic partners and have the capacity for great intimacy. You often fear, however, that your partner does not wish to be as close as you would like your partner to be. Relationships tend to consume a large part of your emotional energy. You tend to be very sensitive to small fluctuations in your partner's moods and actions. And although your senses are often accurate, you take your partner's behaviors overly personally. As a result, you tend to act out and say things you later regret.
I have no idea who you're talking about.
Bullseye.
It's just like,
and the number of phone calls we've had. He did this. It's me. He doesn't love me. He chose to spend an evening with the boys, not me. He doesn't love me. Yeah.
Oh, he's a bit off today.
He's a bit off, yeah. It's definitely me. It's like, it can't be anything that may be taking place in his life. It's definitely my fault. And we're probably going to break up. So in order to avoid him breaking up with me, let me break up with him.
Let me just break up with him.
Yeah. So how did you feel hearing this?
Oh, I think you know what? It actually makes me really nervous saying this. And I almost don't want anyone to hear this podcast.
You know what we're here for.
Yes, and
we promise truth. We
promised you the truth and open and real conversations, and I proved 88% on that, and it's absolutely true. That sort of sums me up to a T, and it also sums up the type, and we'll go into that in a minute, the type of relationships I've had, which sort of reinforce this message in me. And so it's been a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
Like I've actually ended up in certain particular relationships that kind of reinforce the message of, I don't deserve to be loved.
Yeah.
I'm not good enough.
Hey, but check this out. That's who you were. It's not who you're becoming.
Yeah.
Remember that.
And you know what? It's so funny that you bring up that point, because this book says you're basically screwed because you are the attachment style that you are and you can never change. But I don't think that's true, because just before you read the secure one, and Varia's been my best friend for a very long time, I've seen you transition from one particular attachment style to now a very different attachment style, which actually now when I look at you and I'm in your life, I can see this is who she truly was. So this book does kind of say that you're sort of stuck to one way, but then you sort of work around it by finding a secure person. But the reality is, I don't think so. I think you can actually, through the work that you do on yourself, you can move into a more secure place. And we're going to do some of that later towards the end of this podcast. We're going to talk about how anxious people or anxious attachment styles can start finding that security within themselves, how avoidant attachment styles can start doing certain work on their inner child and find security within themselves in order to present more as a secure person, in order to attract a secure person. And then also, before we finish off, we're going to do a little meditation to start off the process of healing the inner child.
Lovely.
So there's all of that coming, so stay tuned. Secure.
But wrap up with the secure attachment style. Okay. Being warm and loving in a relationship comes naturally to you. You enjoy being intimate without becoming overly worried about your relationships. You take things in stride when it comes to romance and don't get easily upset over relationship matters. You effectively communicate your needs and feelings to your partner and are also strong at reading your partner's emotional cues and responding to them. You share your successes and problems with your partner and are able to be there for your partner in times of need. Even though you have a secure attachment style, it is likely you have or will have relationships with people with other attachment styles. And it's interesting because we did say you need a securely attached partner to potentially overcome your avoidant or anxious attachment style. And this definition has highlighted that as well, that very often because of your security, you will be able to take on somebody who's maybe less secure, which is what the anxiously and avoidantly attached people are. They have those defense mechanisms in place which need to be reworked or broken down in order for them to become more secure and actually learn to accept the love. Because this is the thing, they are protecting themselves from the love that the secure person will offer them, because somewhere deep down inside they don't feel like they're worthy of the love that everybody is deserving of. And I think
because actually, weirdly enough, like a lot of this world, so a lot of the secure people or securely attached people in this world are in relationships. They're taken. The majority of people out there, or as statistics say, are avoidants. And then the anxious dip in and out of relationships quite often because they're very anxious to be on their own, so they're always in a relationship. But it's the avoidant who is mostly single. And so as a woman in my 30s who's single, that statistics scares the hell out of me. Because actually the reality is, when I look at my dating life until now, the majority of my relationships have been avoidant. And anytime I've dated someone who's an anxious attachment style, not that I knew what this was at the time, correct, now it all makes sense, I've broken up with them so quickly because I'm like, oh, you're anxious. Because it sort of also highlights, like, I can't be with someone who's anxious because I'm so anxious. And then it's the avoidant and the independence and the charisma and the confidence of the avoidant that sort of highlights everything I want to be, and I attach to that. Whereas an avoidant will look at an anxious person and love the constant need that of.
Not too close.
I know. We were just joking before we started filming this. We were
2
saying
meters.
we are probably in the real world would be attracted to getting with each other because I'm an anxious, you're an avoidant. But the reality is that we would completely just destroy each other. Yeah.
And the thing is.
So we're not gonna date.
It's not happening, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
unless we're secure, unless we've healed and we're secure.
Let's hope.
Stay tuned for this. Sorry, you were saying.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
We just need to set our boundaries.
It's like I almost want to put an asterisk next to you because he's my boy. And we spend a lot of time together.
We do.
And I've grown to understand Mark. It's not that he's necessarily avoidant as in let me just hide away somewhere and leave me alone.
It's more of an
It's
awareness.
more it's an awareness, and he doesn't really like drama. He doesn't like the complications of what it takes to be in a relationship.
But relationships are complicated.
I know, but there's people out there which are a rare breed of people where they're like, actually, I like my peace.
Yeah.
But listen to this. If he attracts anxious people that come with a lot of drama, therefore his definition of relationships is drama, too many complications. But it's the people that he attracts.
That's a fair point.
But an avoidant
That's
will
a fair
turn
point.
anxious.
Continue reinforcing
fair
his
point.
belief about relationships.
So you need somebody secure, has their stuff together, so forth and
But
so on.
I'm very aware of and obviously because of what I do, right?
Yeah.
Who am I around?
Yeah.
A lot of insecure, anxious people. So again,
What is it that you do?
Oh, well, I'm an actor, voiceover actor, producer. To say the least.
And the bicep.
And the biceps too. Yeah.
Those almond-shaped eyes. Oh God, it's happening to me. Keep away. Keep away.
I'll look at this camera. I'll just like look at this side and be like, yo.
No, but listen to this. So, I, as an anxious, really pull close to someone. You, as an avoidant, pull away.
Yeah.
And that's opposites, and they're magnets, so we attract. So you talk about how your boy doesn't want drama, but that's all he attracts, because he at the core of who he is attracts an anxious person.
Because that's a valid point.
Yeah.
It's
No, I mean, there's so many situations that I've been in, and I've just been like, this is a mess.
yeah.
I could never take it on to me and my mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
My mom would look at me and be like, the hell you doing?
But why do you keep attracting those type of women?
Because I'm an independent man, Cav.
No, it's because you're an avoidant independent man.
Or aware. I think I'm aware. Like, I see the mess and I'm just like, whoop.
And this is interesting because if a super secure person comes into your life, you would deem them as boring. They do not sit well with your nervous system. So you look at them and feel, oh, there's something off about them. I don't feel that excitement. I don't feel that sense of, if you want to use the word, drama. You know, your nervous system is just, it doesn't register within your body. But the moment you meet somebody who's avoidant, now there's a bit of a game going on. Now you feel elated, you feel excited.
Those butterflies are actually your body telling you this is a toxic situation.
Yeah.
Get out.
Well, your gut's like your second brain,
No,
right?
but Vadia's throwing blows at everybody. I'm going to intercept that. I disagree.
Oh.
I think if you find a secure man that was passionate about you, and really, really was connected to you, I think you'd be all right.
Nah, watch this. The moment you come in and you are secure, you're interested in her, she will pull back. Because
Have I dated anyone who's secure? You know all my...
No, you haven't.
So how do you know...
Jesus Christ.
How do you know...
I love your honesty.
...that I haven't... that I would be bored by someone who's secure?
That's passionate about you.
Yeah,
That's passionate about me, because that's what...
Because they would come on...
Too strong.
Too strong, but in the wrong way. So what you need a bit of chase. You need a bit of chase. As much as you want somebody who is strong and interested in you, you need that kind of mystery. But secure person is going to be quite upfront, but in a really calm manner. You know, they're not going to be like pushing all the buttons the way you are used to. So they're going to be very stable. They're going to ask you out on a date and you'll be like, this is just a little bit boring. It's like, there's no unpredictability, because you need a little bit of unpredictability to feel that excitement.
I'd like to disagree. I think you can find a person that is secure and unpredictable and spontaneous.
Yeah, it's just
I think he's out there.
Yeah,
for sure.
For sure. I just think
I'm gonna do all the work.
Yeah.
Hey boys,
in order to find...
get into the comment section and let this girl know.
She is single, guys. So you know, you blast those doors right open.
But interestingly, it's not just also the type of people you attract, but the environments and situations where you meet these people. And I've noticed with Cav, it tends to be the later part of the day. It's very unlikely she'll end up chatting to a guy in a coffee shop and they end up going on a couple of dates. So she'll most likely meet somebody on a night out. She'll most likely end up meeting somebody in a really wild situation, like one of your most recent encounters. You were on your way home late at night, this guy walks up to you, he's got a really strong chat, you feel intrigued by the chat, and that's what drives your interest towards him. So if the same guy came up to you in a coffee shop at 3 p.m, it'd be like, I don't think that this is just weird. But because it's dark, it's mysterious, there's, I don't know, sort of air of potential about this whole thing, it makes a good story, now you're intrigued. So once again, the nervous system kind of picks up on what sits the best with us. And
because I don't know any...
Clearly, they know each other.
Well, I
And-
mean, after however million hours on the phone
Yeah.
talking through these
It's
things, and
still-
actually the premise of this podcast was some of
Yeah.
our conversations. But maybe also a person who's always been anxious in relationships doesn't know any other way.
Yeah.
They don't know. So you're right. Like
No.
this particular example that she's talking about was a guy who came up to me outside of a tube station and started talking to me in the evening. And look, I'm not on any dating sites. That's a story to be revisited at some point. But that's been traumatic for me, and I've taken a bit of a break from everything. And so I was like, well, actually, this is how organically people meet. In our parents' generation, they didn't have dating sites. Maybe you find he was a beautiful man. You know, I'm not gonna lie. Within the first 5 minutes, I was thinking, wow, would our kids have his eyes? Fine, or like, you know, are they gonna be tall? He's not that tall. Anyway, I was like,
But what does also
But-
interestingly, what does an anxious mind do? It creates a lot of scenarios, and they will tailor these scenarios to what benefits them the best. So you immediately go, "Oh, our kid's gonna have beautiful eyes," while somebody with the more secure, more grounded attachment style, they would probably just assess the situation. They would assess the risk. I'm outside a tube and I'm talking to a complete stranger. I am not thinking about what color eyes our kid's gonna have. I'm
is this guy gonna kill me?
I'm thinking, am I safe here? And this is just a little bit odd. I don't maybe appreciate his forwardness in this situation. So again, it's like just underlying that kind of that anxious mind and your traits that come with it. So it's kind of creating the scenarios, creating the stories, whether they're positive, whether they're negative. But you very quickly build up that kind of story in your head that will lead you to make certain decisions around encounters and situations and relationships.
And so, interestingly enough, an anxious person craves love, and they crave constant validation, affirmation, whether it's gifts, whether it's attention, whatever it is you want constantly from your partner. And even just, I'll throw it out in general to the world, you know, interactions with people, etc. But then the irony is that when you're receiving this love, you can't actually fully receive it because you feel like you don't deserve it. So it's a weird, like, I don't even know what the word in English is, like, or the phrase is, where
Well, it's
you kind of
ironic.
you kind of crave it, but then you can't receive it.
Yeah,
It's,
when
it's,
you're-
it's almost also like there's a self-sabotage in it. You want it, you get it, and then you freak out. It's like a hot potato, so you throw it away. And
yeah.
but literally,
I
this is
just
what
picture
happens.
I picture like Mr. Potato Head, like, just those eyes coming out,
The same thought.
kick in the door, wave in the 4-4. All you heard was "Papa, don't hit me no more." Take us out, Mark.
And that concludes our episode for today. This topic has been so big. For next week, we have actually had to split this into two. We couldn't cover something like this in just 20 minutes or 25 minutes. So we are going to put it into two. But please like, comment, and subscribe. We want to hear from you. We want you guys to do the test as well. So we put the test in the link in the description below. Don't forget to read the book. If you're an avid reader, if you're dyslexic like me, get the audiobook. And yes, follow us on the socials. It will be the T4 Podcast on YouTube and the Take 4 Podcast on Instagram.